What is going on, everybody? It's Jason and Justin. We are joined by fellow Ohio native Daniel Roemer. How are you doing today, buddy?
I'm hanging in there, as always.
Good. Happy to hear it.
Awesome. The question I like to ask first before we get into talking about The Chaser is, what made you want to be a storyteller or filmmaker?
It actually goes way back to when I was about 4. My dad used to take us ice skating. He would flood, or the city would flood the tennis courts, and it would freeze over in the winter. And he would have his old Super 8mm camera, and he would, film us. And then when we go back inside, he would play stuff backwards in slow motion, and it like tripped me out as a kid. I think it always kind of stuck in my mind as like, the whole like being able to manipulate reality, and yeah, so it goes back pretty far.
That's awesome.
What are some of the films, TV shows that influenced you growing up?
I think the first one that pops into my mind is Dukes of Hazzard. I remember as a kid, like jumping in the window without opening the door because I saw them do that. Do you remember the show? They would like go in through the window of the car.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But then I think later on, like I was like action movies, like like Terminator 2, Jurassic Park, not stuff I would do now or maybe watch much now, but like, yeah, back then it was all about the big special effects movies.
Sure. Any sci-fi specific ones you really like, or something you gain influence from? Because especially with The Chaser, I feel like you have a flavor for sci-fi, at least a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Like Donnie Darko has always been one of my favorites, and it's just, I mean, the way I just can't imagine how he wrote it. It just kind of all turns inside out, and yeah, so definitely that. And then I do like a lot of like Darren Aronofsky stuff.
Sure.
I don't know. I wouldn't say it's straight up like sci-fi or anything, but it definitely has that. And then like 2001 Space Odyssey.
Yeah, that's a good one. Definitely, for sure.
Yeah.
Very good. Also, you made a lot of short films. So what's it like transitioning from short film to television, and not just short film to television? You went from short film to television to a show that's going to air on Amazon Prime, that's amazing, man. I congratulate you on that. But what was that journey like where you're like, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write a show now?
Well, right. Yeah. Writing's definitely its own challenge. What's weird is like the filming it's pretty much exactly the same. Like when you're shooting a short versus something long, it's just more days. But like in general, like, if you have a full crew, like everything's like the same. And that kind of like was something that dawned on me more on this longer project. But yeah, writing is it's a long process to like really get a good script, 6 months, a year, sometimes more.
How do you know something is a short rather than like a full length, like piece of like material, like a movie or otherwise? Like, do you have to really tone down what you're writing for in the short, or like have a concise kind of view of that short,
I always kind of crack up because I hear these interviews from like Christopher Nolan or like, and they're like, I don't know, I have a hard time making shorts. It's like easier to write a feature than it is. So like, are you kidding me? No, it's not. Like, I got like 30 short films, like all like ready to go, So
yeah,
I think I love short films because you can be like experimental with them. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't have to be like a narrative, like traditional narrative, 3 acts, and just and then often it's like often it's like a simple concept or a singular concept, but you can go crazy since it's simple,
Yeah. Is there any one of your shorts that? Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Go ahead, Justin.
No, you're okay. I was just wondering, are there any of your shorts that you want to make into like a full-length movie if you had the chance, or some other type of medium?
Well, this one actually is loosely.
Was it a short?
Oh. Yeah, sort of. Like So one of the characters, the guy that plays Gar, the villain in the series, he was in a short film that I made called The Select Fit, and it was about a guy that could like rewind. He was like rewinding these two angels, and they were and basically editing what they said. So I always kind of liked that idea, but it wasn't a story. It wasn't like thick characters or anything like that. So this one is that's almost like the small nugget that gets you into watching it. And then after that, then hopefully it's more about like the characters and the story and stuff.
That's awesome. That's
So
really cool.
tell us about The Chaser. We did have Russ Russo on to talk about it a little bit, but tell us about the plot of The Chaser and what it was about this story where you're like, I think this can be longer than, the usual short or feature-length film.
Well, yeah. So it originally started out as a feature, and we were, as always, it's like you want to try to do like a 90-minute feature, just nice, crisp, get it done. And now it's like total running time now, it's like 3 hours back to back. So it's almost like 2 features. And, that it was, you realize why people make short features, because every little thing you do takes a lot longer when things are longer. So, you have color grading, you have score, you have, all the things you're doing, all the way down to like closed captioning. And so anyway, what was the question again? I went on a rabbit trail.
It's all good. So what was good? Yeah.
Yeah, what was it about this idea where you're like, okay, I think this can be a show?
Yeah, this is like a segue, because this is exactly what my brain does. It goes on like a rabbit trail, and then I forget where I was. But that like lends itself.
No, you're fine.
Oh man, it's so much better in television, because you can just go off and explore a little thing, or you can have a whole episode where they're just walking in the woods trying to find something. And I get bored a lot, like when I'm editing or writing something. So like to be able to like go do something different for like a scene or even a whole episode is great. But yeah, this thing started out as a feature, and then we finally realized that we needed more time to let it breathe, to just keep the pace correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Was that a hard sell to like the producer side of it, in terms of like, hey, rather than a movie, we want to make this into almost a miniseries or a season?
It was like I was actually reading a book at the time about creativity, because we kind of were like up against a wall. We were trying to figure out like, how do we make this work? It's coming in at around 2.5 hours. I went out to LA, and I worked with an editor out there to try to help me trim it down, and we could not get it tighter than 2.5 hours. And so finally I kind of went back home, and then I was reading this book about creativity, and it was talking about like, thinking outside the box, and like, when you come up against a conflict, what, can you use that for your benefit? And then that's where Susanna, who is one of the producers on the project, she was a big time television watcher. She's like, well, maybe you should make it into a television series. And I hemmed and hawed for a couple of weeks, and then I was like, so we broke it all down and stuck up all the scenes on the wall, and she was much more good at plotting out and rearranging what we already had, and then that went into now. I couldn't even imagine it not being what it is now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it.
So when you sell the series, do you have to pitch them on what a second or third season would look like? Should it be picked up, or you just go in, sell the season of the show, and then?
We didn't like sell future stuff on this one, but I don't want to like ruin the story, but I did I'm like thinking about the next thing. So I did kind of angle it in a way to where if it goes over well and people like it, then there's definitely a future there. So
awesome.
You don't want to pigeonhole people into like like, oh, you have to do another season, but you also want to like leave it open where you can.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about like just the storyline. That's not like, I don't want you to spoil anything, but maybe give people some like insight into what the show is, just so they know kind of what to expect if they decide to like jump into it from Amazon Prime.
Yeah. So the gist of it is it's about a video editor who discovers the power to re-edit the last 24 hours. So it's kind of like he discovers this like magic computer type thing and he can rewind reality. And then you're sort of like left with the question is like, is that a good thing? What do the ripple effects make things worse? And then ultimately, you know, you want trying to people to examine is like, what do you have things in your life that you would want to do over again if you had the chance?
Nice. Yeah, it sounds really good. Like I said, Russ was on. He's pitching us on it too. And I can't wait to check it out. I believe it hits tomorrow or Friday. And yeah, man, I can't wait to check it out. But my question to you as an editor, writer, and director, how do you compartmentalize the different areas that you're working in? Like, how do you as the editor separate yourself from the writer? Like, I should cut this, but I don't want to cut this because I think it's good as the writer, but as the editor, I can kind of see maybe where we should cut that to make it flow a little bit better. Like, how do you do that, the three different areas, without, I guess, being married to your source material? Because I've heard a lot of writers who are directors and editors say that they have a tough time cutting stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a really good observation. I have this like piece of paper, excuse me, on my wall, and it basically, I had a music video teacher once in college that talked about his creative process, and you kind of like start off with, you know, you're all into it and you're like, yes, this is awesome. And then it slowly devolves into like, oh, this is terrible. And then it goes to the lowest where it's like, I'm terrible. So you're starting to personalize it all. And then eventually you come out and you're like, this isn't so bad. And then it goes up to, this is awesome again at the end. So it's just like this big, you know.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Thing.
That's awesome. I am kind of curious. Is it hard to shoot sci-fi in the sense of like the whole re-edit piece of it? Was that hard to kind of shoot or not really? Like in terms of like portraying it, like, hey, we're gonna go back in time or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really set out to, I guess, do a specific genre. At least in this, you kind of just do what feels right. And you know, I almost feel like there's like different types of directors. There's like wide directors, you know, like someone like James Cameron or Spielberg, like they'll do a film and you know, it's a wide audience and they could do a lot of different types of scripts. But you know, then you have other directors that they can't help but not feel like themselves. So like a Wes Anderson, like, you know, could he direct a movie that you did not know was Wes Anderson, you know?
Sure.
And I think for me, I more follow under the category of like the auteur style. Like I would like to be able to maybe, you know, there's some stuff I could definitely do as like a larger, wide type of audience. But in the end, it usually ends up definitely having like a stylistic appeal to where it's like, okay, it's like, so this one I didn't like try to set out to make like a sci-fi or any genre, just try to make what I thought was cool.
Sure. I guess my question more, you answered that beautifully, but I kind of want to delve a little bit into that. Like, do you do something special with like the film effects or anything like that to be like, hey, we're really going to go back in time? Or is like, does you wake up in a bed and like all of a sudden it's like the new thing? You know what I mean? Like, how do you like portray that, oh man, time has shifted backwards or forwards, or is it pretty well established? You know what I mean? Like the car in Back to the Future or whatever. You know what I mean?
I was always like compelled by the like in the organic or like magical side of things. So like I don't know if you guys have seen that movie Lamb. It's a movie that came out, Icelandic film, but it's kind of like a thriller, but there's like this weird organic feel to it. And I am drawn to that kind of thing. where it's not techie, necessarily. And if there is tech in it, it almost seems there's like an organic feel to the tech,
Sure.
Because I think ultimately, like you show a phone in 3 years, it's going to be out of date. So
The
you
Razor.
yeah, exactly. So it's like the laptop that we used in it was like from like 1997. I still had it in like a prop box.
That's
It
awesome.
didn't work at all. We had to like green screen it and everything. But I thought it's like, it looks cool because it's like a retro laptop.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome. Daniel, I want to thank you so much for coming on, talking to us. I can't wait to check out Chaser. So it's going to be on Amazon Prime as of the 12th, correct?
Yep.
Awesome,
I
man.
mean, I think it's out today, honestly. I just downloaded it. I just bought it. I think it's out today.
Oh, awesome.
Like now.
Yeah, if you can
11.
find it. But yeah, officially it comes out 12th, which is tomorrow. So yeah.
Oh, weird. Okay. It let me buy it, I guess.
Cool.
How can everybody find you online?
Where you can find me, my Instagram handle is it's just at DF Roemer, Roemer, and then the handle for where you can see all the updates on the movie or on the series is at Zero Gravity Media Films. So Zero Gravity Media Films. Yep. And then of course you can get to it. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Have a great day. And everybody out there, please subscribe, like, comment, check out Chaser. Guys, we'll talk to you real soon.